Okay, welcome. We have a very special guest for the Real Deal podcast. We have Brayden Mercer joining us, and TSS old boy, Gold Coast born and bred. Is that right, Brayden?
Born in Nambour on the Sunshine Coast, but I've been on the Gold Coast.
Okay, I've done my research.
Yeah.
And a 2024 Noosa Triathlon champion, under 23 Australian triathlon champion, professional triathlete, but your biggest achievement is Coastal Ambassador. All right, now that is, of course, we are very proud to have you on the Team Coastal, but huge achievements in such a young age, and we're really excited to unpack your mindset, the parallels between success in sport, success in business. But before we get into so much to cover, and we've got the Noosa Triathlon a couple of weeks away by the time this goes to air, and there's plenty of middle-aged men in Coastal, let me tell you, that are looking forward to that one. Tell me a bit about your background and how did you actually come to be in this sport, given you've come from, let's call it surf life-saving royalty with your mum and dad, who are both absolute icons in the sport of surf life-saving. How did you end up in the sport of triathlon?
Yeah, so like you said, surf life saving, and growing up on the Gold Coast, I was a very active kid. I have 3 younger brothers, so we were always running around kicking footies and whatnot. But yeah, obviously with swimming being a big part of surf life saving, I obviously have been swimming from a young age, and just through like school sport and stuff, I got into running. And then my year 7 math teacher, when I went to TSS, like you said, I'm an old boy there, Jackson Elliott. He needed people for the cross country team, and I never really liked running. I thought it was really hard, and I really suffered when running.
At what age are you here?
11 years old.
Wow, okay.
So, 12 years old, actually. In year 7. And then he's like, we need someone for the cross-country team. You're the man. If you want to get a diligence 1, which is like the best score for effort in math, he's like, I'll give you that if you just come rock up, train, and do it. And I was like, all right.
Good deal.
Good deal. Done. Mum will be happy. So rocked up. The first few sessions were difficult, like I said. But then after a few weeks, I was like really enjoying it. I saw the big improvements, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then, I sort of did the running alongside the surf life saving for a few years there. And then sort of during COVID, a lot of racing was stopping, and I was like, oh, what's going on? And that's when, again, Jackson Elliott, my run coach, and Craig Walton, who helped me get in, also a Sydney Olympian for triathlon, and the Noosa Triathlon King of Noosa. He's got the record for the males, six titles, I'm pretty sure.
You're coming for him.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. They said, look, mate, you should really give triathlon a go. It's an Olympic sport. You can travel the world. And I was just like, oh, that sounds really cool. Like the Olympics are, let's see. I didn't really know too much about triathlon. Like the only triathlon I knew was the Noosa Triathlon, going up and watching that. And I always thought that was a cool weekend. And then when they said, give this a go, you're a really good swimmer and runner, and the bike you can pick up. So better to start younger than leave it a bit later on. Like, you don't. And then I said to Mum, like I would hate to miss out on the Olympics or something because I pushed it on for too long. So I was like, let's start this now. And then, it was probably 4 years ago now. I was like, you know what? I stopped everything else, and I straight away just went into it.
You were all in.
All in. I'd never done a triathlon, never ridden a bike, but I said, this is what I'm doing. I had people that really believed in me, family, friends, and like I said, a lot of good mentors. And they said, you've got a really good shot at this. You should do it. So and then since then, that's really it. I've just been all in.
That's a big commitment to just say I'm doing it before you've actually really even ridden bikes per se. Tell me about your first race.
So first race was one of the local Queensland races up at Raby Bay, I believe. I think I got second in my age group there. Like I had a good swim, but the bike was really hard. Like I said, I was new to it, bit of a Gumby. So then the run was even harder because I was just like, fully cooked. But then, through training and a bit more race experience, I did start to click and find that those improvements were happening quite fast. And then after about a year or so of just racing locally, I was, race at the Australian Junior Championships, and I got second there. And that was like a big result at the time for me. I was like, wow, that was a bit of a surprise, but a good result. And then that's when I joined I got categorized by Australia Triathlon, like the AIS came along and said, here, we want to support you. Would you like to come train in the centre down here at the QAS on the Gold Coast with Dan Atkins, my current coach now? And then, we had a meeting probably 3 years ago now. I said, how would you feel if I came trained with you guys? And he's like, yeah, would love that. And he said, when do you want to start? And I said, I'll start tomorrow if you want me to. And he said, oh, ease up, young fella. How about I got to, put a few pieces in place. Well, let's do next week. So then next week rolled around and I joined that squad and I've been with them ever since.
I've always been interested with triathlon training groups that you're effectively training with, I'm sure they're your mates, but they are people that you actually end up competing against.
Yes.
How does that dynamic work? Is that overall a positive thing where you guys push each other and encourage each other, or does it get a little bit intense sometimes?
I wouldn't say it gets intense. Like, we're all level-headed. I'm very lucky to train with the current number one, Matt Hauser, who's leading the World Series at the moment, and he's he's always been a good mate, and he's always helped me out as like a mentor. I think he sees me as a younger bloke. He wants to. I'm on his heels trying to improve him, push him, and he's doing the same for me. And like the other guys in my squad, we all work together well. I think we know that we're a small squad, but we all work together for our end goals. And obviously, yes, we race each other, but I think that if we were to finish second in any race, if there was one person to beat us, it would be our training partners and our mates, because we know that we put the work in together, and we're sort of happy to. Obviously, you want to win, but if there's one person that you're happy to lose to, it's.
Do you get a sense in training though, like leading up to a race? I think I've got this guy covered. Is there a bit of that?
Oh, you never know, because racing's so different to training. I found I used to be really I'm very, very competitive, but probably over competitive as a young age in training, really pushing, and then you get to a race and then this guy that you're beating every day folds you and you're like, how did that happen? So I think it's a balance of keeping a lid on it, knowing how to train, sticking to what the coach says is very important. I've learned that over the years through injury and stuff. But I think we know, when someone's flying, you're like, this guy's fit.
This guy's on fire.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, okay, that leads me to, we're going to jump around a bit, but I really want to get into your victory last year at Noosa.
Yeah.
Because we, like many people who knew of you and knew you, we were watching it. And what was really interesting watching that race is you came out and led reasonably, like during the bike, off the bike, you're leading off the run, right?
Yeah.
Now, everyone's kind of expected, it's almost like some of the commentators were expecting that not to last.
Yes.
And it was probably because they weren't, is it fair to say you weren't going in there as any kind of favourite?
Yeah.
You took a lot of people by surprise. I want to ask, were you surprised by that victory?
To be honest, the result, yes, but the performance I put together, no. I think, yes, it's fair that I was maybe written off because I haven't really proved myself in races, but I know, we've been humble. I would say, I know my ability and what I can do, and how the performance I can put together. So, winning that race was, I think, it'll be a memorable one forever. Hopefully, I have a lot more, races like that where we can get some good victories along the way. But I think at the end of my career, that might be one of the ones up there. I think it was a really special weekend. The Noosa Triathlon, how it happened.
Was that your first one?
That was my first ever Noosa, yeah.
And did you wake up that morning thinking something special's coming today?
I just woke up and I was like, this is going to be a good day. It's going to be a fun day. I've always watched it. It was slightly different. Like the racing I do is a lot of drafting and we travel around the world, but to have a home race just down the road, with the Aussie crowd, I thought it was going to be a good race for sure.
And when you were storming home in that run, were you talk us through the feelings when you knew you had it?
Well, to be honest, I just sort of, I knew I could swim and ride well. And then I got off and there was a South African, Jamie, he led in for the bike. So I caught him a couple K into the run and then went past him. And I was feeling good. And I just said to myself, don't worry about anyone around you. Just stay relaxed and do what you can do. And, my best result is all I'm after. Whether that I might have won, I wasn't really fixated on the result. I was just give everything you got to the line. And once I hit the U-turn, I knew I had a bit of a gap, and there was this guy on a bike. I don't know who it is, so I'd love to know who it was. But he kept riding past. I didn't look because I was in the zone. But he's like, "You're gonna win Noosa. You're gonna win Noosa." And I was like,
"Was he an amateur?"
No. He was a spectator.
Oh, he was a spectator.
Just a local. I'm not sure who he was. I'd love to know who he is, but
if you're out there, ride in.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, "You're gonna win Noosa, mate," and I was like, "That was 3K in." And I was like, yeah, let's see, mate. There's 7K to go. And then I think at the 6K mark or 7K mark, when I came back through that part of town, he's like, "You're gonna win Noosa," and I was like, "I actually might win Noosa." And then, yeah, I knew with 2.5, 3K to go, I'll just give everything, and I knew I had a bit of a gap, so I think that's when it sunk in. And then my mates were like 600 meters out, and they were all going for high fives, but I was just like, "No, I'm not celebrating until I get across that line." So, yeah, once I hit the carpet with like 50 meters to go, then I really knew that I'd won.
It's so funny because when I'm on the trainer at home, I'll watch that race over and over again, and I'll be yelling out, "Go, Brayden!" And Kim's like, "Mate, it's already been run. You already know the result." But it's such a cool thing to keep watching. It's such a great moment, and even the emotion. And your mum was actually on the commentary box as well, and the other commentators just knew how special it was.
Yeah.
What would you say that's done for your career since then?
Yeah, I will say it has helped me out a lot with sponsorships and stuff. I think it's a great opportunity for any Aussie athlete, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, triathlons in the world. And
Something like 13,000 participants.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's huge. So I think a lot of the sponsorships and the brands, they see Noosa as one of the biggest races in triathlon, which is true, like for an Aussie athlete. So I think if you can have a good result there on home soil, like I'm still young, so I think a lot of people have, taken notice. And I'm very lucky with all the support I have gotten since that race, for sure.
And what do you think your mindset's going to be going into this year's Noosa? I know you've got and we're going to talk about the Worlds. That's probably your main focus.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. But what do you think your mindset's going to be having won it? Is it a bit? It's not as relaxed. It's a bit of pressure.
There is, but I want to try and go into it the same as I did last year, just to enjoy it. I actually had like one of the worst races of my season a week before, 7 days before. And Noosa was the last race, and I was like, look, I don't have any expectation here. I just want to go here, give my best, and, finish the season off good, because I had a good season that year. Like, that was my first year in Europe last year, and I had some really solid results. That was where I sort of broke through. I think I want to go on this year. Like, obviously, yes, I won last year, but, it's a new year this year. There could be another, Brayden Mercer on the start line that entered last minute, and he's not even on the start list and comes through. So, yeah, it's anyone's race. Obviously, I know I've got the pressure, I guess you could say, of winning from last year, but I think that's a good thing. It's a bit of confidence now that I know how I've done it before. I can do it again.
And okay, so you've got the Worlds coming up.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that for people who don't know triathlon. The World Championship.
Yeah.
That's coming up in Wollongong.
Yeah, that's right.
And how far away are we? And are we in the taper phase? Like, tell us about where we're at. For those of us that don't know anything about, preparing for a pro race, what's involved and how long you got to go?
Yeah, so at the time of recording this, it's 3 weeks pretty much on the dot. And we're sort of in the heat of training, really, really squeezing the last little bits out. So training quite hard and pretty full on and intense at the moment. And then we'll probably start the taper in another, 2 weeks to a week and a half. Back it off a little bit to get ready.
So you just mentioned this morning, before we started recording, you swam 4.5, 5Ks in the ocean this morning. Got another session this afternoon.
Yeah.
So give us an idea of the volume, because the thing about triathlon, you're not just training for one sport, you're training for three, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us about the volume involved
Yeah.
on a weekly basis, a typical week leading up to a big event. How many sessions are you doing, and what is actually involved in that whole process of preparation?
Yeah, so every day is pretty much 3 sessions a day. 5 to 6 hours, 6 hours average a day. So, I mean, obviously some days are a bit less, like a Sunday and a Friday, a little bit less to, not flog yourself. So you're looking at probably 25 to 30 hours of training a week.
That's huge.
Yeah. So we try and do, nearly all 3 every day. So swim, bike, run every day. And obviously as we get closer to a race, we'll probably keep the frequency in there, but just the volume. So we'll just, take a few hours out of the week leading into it.
And in terms of recovery, like I'm sure, when you first started training, your volume increases.
Exactly.
How would you recommend someone out there, let's call them a novice person who just wants to train and build to something?
Yes.
Because I think the mistake a lot of people make is they drop straight into their A game,
Yes.
High intensity campaign. But that's not how a professional athlete would work, right? They would build up to that
Yes.
kind of volume.
For sure. I mean, the training I'm doing now has taken, a few years to get to. And I have also, although I'm new to triathlon, I've been training and swimming and everything my whole life. So it's like 10 years of training, really. I mean, specific to triathlon 4, but yeah, it does take time to build up. And for what you were saying, for example, for those guys, my advice would be, yeah, don't push too hard. Sort of keep a lid on it. Like, you don't get too, you want to get excited and train. I know I'm the exact same. So, but if I was to say to someone, for example, training for Noosa this year or a race, and they're really keen, like, and you're really just getting into it, try to do, 1 to 2 of each per week. So that's, 3, like 1 to 2 swims, 1 to 2 rides, and 1 to 2 runs is a good starting point. Obviously, you've got to train for all 3. So yeah, I would say that's a good starting point.
We're 5 weeks out as we talk now.
Yep.
So there's still hope for someone that's been a bit slack.
Yeah,
Not mentioning any names.
I think you're talking about yourself.
I am.
No, there is. I mean, 5 weeks, you can't do a lot, but there's still time to definitely just get your body ready. I think, yeah, the main thing is on race day, you want to be ready for what's going to happen. You want to train just for the feeling of racing and, riding your bike and your setup, making sure that your position's all good and you're comfortable swimming. And it's obviously going to be open water at Noosa, so comfortable swimming in the open water. And, yeah, just practicing, obviously running. It's going to be a 10K, so it can be quite a long way if you haven't done the training. So just practice all 3.
Is that an advantage for the surf life saving background people like yourself? Having that open water, or does everyone prepare and they turn up ready for open water swimming?
It's hard because most of the triathlons I've done, there's no surf, and in Noosa in November and North Facing Beach, they don't get too much surf with the headland there protecting it. So it's not too much surf, but I would love one day for
a few waves to catch in. Yeah,
5 foot swell in a triathlon race. That would be pretty fun. But yeah, I haven't seen that one just yet.
I'm always interested. You have a good race, you come back into training the week after, the day after, versus having a bad race or a race that didn't go as expected. How do you manage your own headspace with, you've got to do a certain amount of work, you've got to get through, your 25 hours a week, you've got sessions planned. You might feel a bit jaded because it didn't go to plan, or is that something that doesn't affect you? Because you're a positive, I can tell you've got a positive mindset. You're a happy person. Is that still something you need to manage, or are you just ploughing through those sort of highs and lows?
Yeah, you got to manage it, but I find that the good will come with the bad. So, it's just one race. There's always another race, whether it be good or bad. It's in the past, and I think you got to have your long-term vision. So you have a good race, you come in and you're like, that was great, let's keep doing what we're doing. There's probably always something you can still improve on, and you'll be excited to get back into training because you're like, all right, I want to feel that feeling again. And then vice versa with a bad race, you're like, I don't want to feel that feeling again. That sucked, but look at all this I can improve on. And I think sometimes the bad races are almost as good as the good ones in terms of the improvements that can be made. Because obviously if you had a bad race, what did you do wrong? Like, I think that's something I do well. I reflect and I go, what do I need to tweak for my next race to have a better result? And then
is that something you talk to your coach about?
Yeah, we have conversations with my coach, and just sort of get back into training and go, this is the plan for next race. We did this wrong. Also with the bad races, there's probably things that you did right. You might not have got the result you wanted, but I'm sure there's 1 or 2 little things that you did right that were better than your last race. So, take the positives from the bad race as well. And I'm always pretty motivated to get back in, although sometimes it is tough with a bad race. Like, you sort of do want to be like, oh, that was, that sucks, but you got to take the positive from it as well. And I always find, I do that well. I have a good team around me, and then we set a plan to go, all right, let's fix this for the next one.
And what about other setbacks? Because I know, I think it was last year, you actually had a bike accident coming down Springbrook. You hit a kangaroo.
That was at the start of this year, yeah.
Start of this year.
Yeah.
So tell us about that, and tell us about how you then recover and get yourself back on track. Because I'm imagining at the time that's happening, you're in peak performance, everything's on track, and then all of a sudden, what actually happened?
Yeah, so the week before, I had one of my best races in Napier, my first ever World Cup podium. So I was on this big high, and I was like, everything's going so well. I was fit. It was the first race of the year post Noosa. I'm like, this is going to be a great year. And then, I'm coming down near Hinds Dam, and there's this sort of long grass that hadn't been cut in a while, probably a foot or 2 tall, and this little wallaby last minute as I'm going downhill at like 55, 60 k's an hour just jumps out right in front of me, and as soon as I've seen it, I didn't have enough time to react, and I've just hit it and gone straight over
the handlebars.
And yeah, that banged me up pretty bad. Had to get a few stitches, and I was actually racing 7 days later down in Devonport.
So were you on your own?
I was on my own, yeah. So
Had to ring mum?
I had to ring mum to come pick me up because I was like, yeah, I was pretty banged up and my bike was, not good. And
So nothing broken?
nothing broken, luckily, but
Yeah.
had to get a few stitches and there was a bit of blood. But I was very lucky I didn't break anything, to be honest. That's what my whole the physio staff and the doctors of Australia Triathlon said. How'd you not, at that speed and going
Crazy.
over, how'd you not break anything? So yeah, I'm very lucky. And yeah, I had to race 7 days later, and some of the performance managers were calling me up like, look, mate, like this was actually a selection race for Worlds in Wollongong, so I had to perform. This is one of the races you had to perform in to get selected, so because the team hadn't been selected yet. And I was like, look, and my coach Dan, he's like, look, you're the boss. He's like, there's other opportunities in the year, so don't put that pressure on yourself, because obviously coming from a crash as well, you do sort of have to take a bit of time to get back on the bike, because obviously having, it's not nice crashing, so you're not as confident on the bike. But I said, you know what, like I want to go into this weekend, no expectation, and I want to do it for myself, because I had that setback and I want to prove to myself, like, when those things happen, I can bounce back really well and overcome the setbacks. And he said, yeah, that's brilliant, let's do it. Then I went down there, and that's the race that I won the under 23 Australian champion. So a
week after the crash.
Yeah, so a pretty good result. Like not exactly what I was hoping for in terms of the form that I'd been in. But I thought, like, considering, the pretty.
And that was a really hilly course, wasn't it?
It was.
Up,
yeah. So
up and down this hill like multiple times. It was tiring just watching it.
Yeah, the one hill that you come down, you pick up a lot of speed, and then you go into a corner, and all I could see was a kangaroo just jumping out at me the last second. But
PTSD.
Yeah, that's it. But no, I think setbacks are a part of life, sport, business, whatever. Like, they're gonna happen, and I think when they happen, it's you got two ways of being about it. You can sort of let it beat you down, or you can use it and go, what, this happened, but I'm going to use this as strength and fuel to help me for the future.
Well, one of my questions was, what has triathlon taught you about life? But I really think you've just summarised it then.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Those setbacks, and, credit to yourself, and even proving it to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of where you actually were going to place, you're the person who actually took that, that setback and turned up and performed. And if you didn't do that, how would you have felt about yourself the week after, by not being the person who turned up?
Yeah.
So tell us about, what are your long-term goals, if you don't mind sharing? Like, are we talking Olympics? Like, what are you actually, if you were to get to the end on your rocking chair, the proverbial rocking chair, and go, well, that's what I got out of my career in triathlon, if everything goes according to plan, what would that look like?
Well, I think the goal is to try and make the Olympics. Obviously, we've got one coming up in LA in 3 years, and then the big one, Brisbane 2032, which would be,
Which one of those do you think is your, obviously you're going to be shooting for both, I'm imagining.
Yeah.
But which one is going to fall within your ideal prime, do you think?
I think Brisbane. I'll be 28 years old, so that's a pretty good age for triathlon. So,
Is that the window?
I mean, everyone's different, so who knows? But obviously home Olympics is very special. I think the Olympics, and I think also things I don't want to take for granted is all the amazing places I get to go and people I get to meet as well. I think that's a very important thing. As an athlete, we might get fixated on the results, but I think from speaking to people that have been in my situation, it's also like the mark that you leave while walking away from sport. Like, yes, you can finish with all these wins and podiums and great results, but I think it's also the people you meet along the way and the impact you have on them, and just trying to inspire people as well if I can. Like, I mean, I'm starting to work my way up, but I think if people see me and they get inspired, like, that's amazing for me. If I can do that, that's just as good as any race win.
Awesome, mate.
Yeah,
that's great. And tell me about you've just come back from overseas, competing, training, all through Europe.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
It was really good. I had my first World Series race in Hamburg, and then another one in French Riviera. So for those that don't know, World Series is like, in World Triathlon, is like the pinnacle of of the sport. That's like the highest level where all the best guys in the world race, and then that's how the world champion is decided at the end of the year. So like I said, my mate who I train with, good mate Matt Hauser, he's leading that at the moment. So it was a really good experience to go over there for nearly 5 months and race a whole bunch of different races, but then also get my shot at racing at the top.
And when is the qualification decided for, say, LA?
Usually a year out or even the year of. So they'll have.
And is there two athletes?
2 to 3.
Okay. Does it depend on who qualifies time-wise?
Yeah, it depends on. It's a lot of things. I don't know exactly, so don't quote me. But I think it's if Australia in the male and female has a certain amount of athletes within the top 30 or so, then if they have 3 athletes in the top 30 world ranking, then they'll get 3 spots. So hopefully we can qualify as many guys and girls for LA as possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have days where you just don't feel like training?
Yes.
Because you do. Okay, because it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you love it. And I know, of course you do, would be the obvious answer. Tell us about how do you strategize around that? What's going through your mind when Brayden Mercer wakes up and goes, I really don't want to go to the pool. It's 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a human, so that happens more often than not. I will say, I try to have a positive mindset, but sometimes reality is reality, and you're tired, you don't want to go train today, you'd rather stay in bed, or you can't be bothered. But I think those are the important days, like just showing up. Sometimes, like, not every session is going to be a gold medal session, but just showing up I'll always feel better for that. Like, some days I'm like, I don't want to do this. This is hard session. I'm, tired, everything, all the excuses. But I think the days when you're killing it and you're feeling great and you're just, you're on top of the world, they're the easy days. They're the days that, everyone can do. But I think what separates others is showing up on those days when you don't want to do it and having those, the visions, like I said, or the long-term goals of what you want to do, keeping that in mind to help you, the short-term goals, and just putting one foot in front of the other and showing up is the most important
that's
thing.
good advice, just showing up, because I think sometimes you think, I'm not feeling 10 out of 10, so what's the point anyway? It's not going to be, it's why I had to get off Strava. So I was on Strava for 2 days because I'm not pretending to be anything like a professional athlete, but I'm saying what it was for me is I'd do a couple of sessions, and if it wasn't good times for me, I didn't feel like I wanted it out there in the in the World Wide Web, people looking at it. So I just took it off because it was too much pressure. So I think that's great advice, is you saying just turn up. And it's the same in our industry. Like, you're not always going to feel 10 out of 10. You're not always going to feel amazing. In fact, very often you don't. But do you also find that those sessions can sometimes turn into your best sessions because you turn up and all of a sudden you didn't feel like it, and because you did turn up, you're the guy. I always find at the end of that, you're the person who did turn up.
Yeah.
And you're proud of yourself.
Exactly.
And it carries on throughout the next part of your day.
Yeah, I don't even, like you said, I don't even have Strava. I've never owned it. I don't ever plan on it because I just
I would if I were you, by the way. I'm just saying for me, I'd be posting everything.
Yeah.
But I did like your little clip yesterday. That was cool with the running.
Yeah.
You've always got good songs, Brayden. I love your songs.
Yeah.
Who chooses that?
Me. I think I got good wide variety of music choices.
You do?
Yeah.
No, you do. Some old school stuff too.
Yeah. But yeah, I think just worrying about yourself is the most important thing. Like, just the other day, we're at a swim and I got towed up, but I just, I was real tired, this point in training, but those days happen, and it's just training at the end of the day. So you just got to show up. Like, some days you see the set on the board, you're just like, I want to get out. I don't want to do this. But yeah, like I said, one step in front of the other. And usually at the end of those sets, when you get through, you're like, wow, that was, I proved to myself, like I said just before, proving to yourself that you're actually got more than, and you're more than capable of what you actually think. I think sometimes people put themselves down and they don't believe in what they can achieve. And I think, like that happens to me sometimes. And then you surprise yourself and you go, wow, I actually could do something I didn't think I could do.
Do you have to battle with comparison? A little bit?
For sure. I mean, I'm not going to hide every day you try and compare yourself, but I think, you got to try and focus on yourself as much as possible. As much as I do it sometimes, I do sort of, everyone's at a different stage in their, whether it be a career, their life, whatever, we all grow at different rates, and, everyone has a different goal, and everyone's so different. So I think you just got to know what you want in life and sort of what you want to get out of yourself, and just work towards that every day, little steps at a time. It's not going to happen overnight. Everything that's worth, getting doesn't come easy. So yeah, it's just little 1%ers at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're coming to the end. So before we do, I did want to do a couple of questions to prepare some of our team. And I know a lot of people listening to this might actually be doing Noosa. It's a huge triathlon. Any tips for the amateur to get the most out of the race?
For sure.
And pick up that little bit of extra speed just from your little hacks that you might be able to share as a former champion?
Okay, so I'll break it down. Easy, swim, bike, run. First off, I'll say as much as, we don't want to admit it, gear does matter in triathlon, unfortunately. So
Gear.
So we'll break down. So having a good tri suit and testing it out so you can swim in it. It doesn't chafe you. Maybe a bit of Vaseline, because the rest of the race, the next few hours will be very uncomfortable if you get chafing in the swim, especially with the salt water. So yeah, Vaseline's good little tip, and a good tri suit that you've practiced in for the swim as well.
I can imagine that would catch a few people off guard. They've got because I've got a brand new one sitting. I haven't used it yet.
Do use it.
Do use it.
Break it in. Swim skin, you were asking me about the other day.
Yep. Don't tell anyone else about that, mate. That's my my 1 second per hack. No, of course. The swim skin, which for anyone listening, Noosa is not a wetsuit. Most likely not a wetsuit.
I mean, you can buy a wetty if you want, and just in case, but I would say it's a safe bet. Swim skin, they do help. Gives you a bit more buoyancy, especially for someone newer to swimming. It just floats you a little bit more.
And that goes on top of your tri suit?
Goes on top. And
a little bit more buoyancy and more aero.
And you take it off after the swim. Then a bike. I mean, you don't need the most expensive bike, but I think just being comfortable on your bike, knowing that you can ride 40 kilometers on your bike and not getting any lower back pains or anything is probably the most important thing. And then for the run, just a good pair of shoes that, they're going to support your feet, your legs. You're not going to get any blisters or anything.
Asics, of course.
Asics, of course. Yes, the new Asics Metaspeeds are very good. Put a bit of Vaseline in the heel on there, and you'll be
Vaseline on the heel.
Just a little bit, so you don't get a blister. And then they're perfect, and they'll definitely shave a few seconds off the run, no doubt. So that's gear. And then if we were to go through race tactics, swim, bike, run.
Yes.
Jump on in the middle of waves, like get on someone's feet that's swimming, and just, it's going to drag you along a bit more, make the swim a little bit easier.
So directly behind their feet?
Just directly behind someone. Although, it might not be comfortable with the bubbles. Like, it is a lot faster and it will save energy. So obviously if we're saving energy, then the rest of the race is going to be easier. And getting a good clear pair of goggles so you can see the swim buoys.
Clear goggles.
We'll just got a pair that isn't fogging up.
Yep.
See the swim buoys, and then come up from the swim, and then you've got the bike.
And if you're so what percentage effort should you be doing the swim?
Yeah.
Because the old tactic is, of course, people tell you don't gas yourself in the swim because you jump on the bike with your heart rate too high.
Yes.
So if you give an amateur a percentage of 100% is flat out.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Oh, it's so hard on how fit you are. I think it is good to sort of, if you had to go harder, definitely just hold back a little bit. Sit on someone's feet, let them push the water in front of you, do a bit more work. Probably a 6 or 7 out of 10 and then maybe even a 5 if you don't back your fitness.
Yep.
And then coming up, it's a tough run up the hill on the soft sand. So just keep the heart rate low there. Just get your breaths back. Work it into transition. Visualize where your bike is, so you're not panicking when you get there. Sort of have a mark or somewhere where you can remember where your bike is, because there's 10,000 bikes in there and it's hard to remember.
So know where it is.
Yeah.
Just get back. When you're racing, if you know someone's on your feet, because you're a strong swimmer, are you trying to kick them off? Do you know when someone's trying to do that to you?
Yeah. I mean, it's little tactics of who's there and whatnot.
We can't say too much?
Yeah, we can't say too much.
Okay.
Nah, it's... Yeah, you're always trying to, but yeah, everyone's obviously so good at that level. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So know where your bike is. Now, there is a bit of a run between the swim and the bike, so don't gas yourself on that.
Don't go flat out. Don't think of Usain Bolt running through there, because it'll really hurt you jumping on that bike. And just try and get the heart rate back down, get settled into a nice rhythm, visualize where your bike is, have a, put your helmet on, run out. And then I've seen... when I was spectating a few years ago, so before I'd ever done it, a lot of people stuff up getting on their bike. So just really just be careful because some people go into barriers and everything. You don't want your day to end early. So just
Do you recommend cleats on the bike and then jump on?
I do, but practice, do what you've practiced. Don't try anything new. I'll say that. So if you've got to put them on in transition and run out and then just stop, put your leg over, that's the safest way. And that's probably the way to do it if you haven't practiced. But if you want a few extra seconds, leave them on your bike, jump on, see how you go. But like I said, just be safe because you don't want your day to end early. And then the first bit out of town, you sort of, again, like the swim, you don't want to go flat out because you've got the hill, the Garmin hill, which is, a nice little hill that will sting if you're in the red, if you're in the red zone coming up to it. So just, sort of sit behind someone that's going at a speed that you think that you can go reasonably comfortably. And then, once you get that hill, just you want to get to that not over the limit and then get over that sort of at a, solid tempo because it is hard. So, the quicker you get it out the way, the faster you go, the quicker it's done. So, you don't want to obviously go flat out up that because that will make the rest of the ride very hard. But obviously have a good tempo. Probably be in an easier gear. Like if you're really struggling, just don't be afraid just to flick it down a little bit and just spin up the hill just to, not put yourself into that red zone and completely blow to pieces. And then after the hill, it's nice downhill into the U-turn. So then that's when you can sort of get the breath back and then, pick up the speed. And coming back into town, same, it's a little bit rolling. So just, be prepared for it to be tough because it is a tough little slight uphill all until you get to the very steep downhill. So again, there's a very steep downhill there. So obviously just be super careful. And then coming into town, that's when you sort of got to get ready to run.
So when you're on the bike coming into the run,
is
there anything you can do on your bike to kind of get your legs ready?
Yeah. You can go in maybe like an easier gear and move your legs a bit faster to get that blood flowing because, if you're you don't want all that stagnant blood in your legs. You want to get them ready to run. So, the last few K when you're coming into town, just have a drink of water, even just pause for a bit, let your legs rest, stretch your upper back if you can. If you're tired or anything, get your fluids in and your nutrition to get ready to run. And then, the run, come in, go out, remember where your bike rack is again because like I said,
that's a good one too
really
on the run.
Important thing I think, especially like us pros, we're really lucky that we get our own little section. But I've seen the age groupers and I've thought to myself every time,
losing minutes.
How would I remember? So I think just the day.
What's the best way to do that? A landmark,
or maybe even just like a colourful towel. I know some people use just something that stands out a little bit more, but also remembering roughly in the rack where you are. So that
colourful towels are a good idea. We got coastal towels.
Coastal towel. There you go.
Just
on top, underneath your shoes. Just so you're not stuffing around there and getting all flustered. And then the run is, you sort of want to, if you get excited because you're going out of town, there's going to be a lot of people. So
cheering.
So don't.
There's no one at the end of it. There seems to be at the front.
You do want to look good for your mates. So that's probably where you want to go quite fast, but don't sprint out. Because it's got to be a long 10K. So go out, see your mates, and then I think Noose is really good because it has 1 kilometer marks, and that's what I found I did last year. Just think of it, just break it down 1 kilometer at a time because obviously 10K can be a long way after racing the swim and the ride. So just 1K at a time, get to the aid stations, have some water, and just pace it off your training. I mean, if you're not too confident in your training, it should this sort of start, maybe go out at a 6 or 7 out of 10 and then, 1K at a time. And then once you hit that 2K mark, if you really want to go for time, then just pin the ears back and go as hard as you can to the finish line.
That's the when to do it, right at the end of the run.
Yeah. Last sort of few K.
Well, there's a lot of training between now and then for me. So hopefully by the time we get there, we'll be we won't be too gassed. But there's really only a couple of people in the office I want to beat. I won't name names.
Exactly.
But if I can beat them, that's going to be a successful race for me. I'm in the mates race. The mates wave, like I think just after the pros. So
they're all in the mates waves?
No, not all of them. Yeah, we've got some really fit people here, and they're in the age group. Yeah. But there's a few of us in the mates wave as well.
The mates wave is good because you don't get stuck in all the numbers.
Yes. Also a bit easier to swim.
Yeah, for sure. It's not as and the bike as well. There's not as many people around, so it's a bit nicer.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to it. Well, mate, on behalf of the whole team at Coastal, we thank you for being an ambassador. We love what you do out there.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And also, we wish you well in the Worlds. We wish you well at Noosa. We'll be seeing you up there.
Yep.
But keep doing what you're doing, mate. You're inspiring, as you said. A lot of people look up to you now and what you're doing. And not only just the way you are attacking your sport, but also the way you conduct yourself, which is extremely important. So keep doing what you're doing, Brayden. We love you, mate. And thanks for being on the podcast.
No, thank you for having me.
Cheers,
Thanks
mate.
very much.